Moorish, Moorish Americans are the descendants of who? Ancient Moabites, right? And we are the descendants of who? Moroccans and born in America. For what purpose was the Moorish sign symbol of America founded? How did the prophet begin to uplift the Moorish American? What is our religion? Is that an old or is that a new rather? Is that an old time religion? Now at this point here, I'm going to say yes, it's an old time religion. I do have something I want to return with, but at this time I'm going to defer and let Brother Omari continue from ayat 19. I was just holding it down until he came back. Then I'll come back and I'll give a little synopsis. Islam, and then I'll take my seat.
Gratitude, Sheikh. Appreciate you.
Islam. I'll just hold it down to you like that.
Number 20. What do the 5 points represent?
No, from 19 first. I apologize.
What kind of flag is the Moorish?
It's a red flag with 5 pointed green star in the center.
20. What do the 5 points represent?
Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice.
21. How old is our flag?
It is 50,000 years old. It is over 50,000 years. It's a misprint, though. It's a, say that.
22. Which is our holy day?
Friday.
23. Why?
Because Friday is the day on which man was formed in the flesh, and it was on a Friday when man departed out of flesh.
24. Who is Jesus?
He was a prophet of Allah.
25. Where was he born?
In Bethlehem, Judah, in the house of David.
26. Who were his father and mother?
Joseph and Mary.
27. Will you give him brief the line genealogy through which Jesus came?
Some of the great fathers through which Jesus came are Abraham, Boaz by Ruth, Jesse, King David, Solomon, Hezekiah, and Joseph by Mary.
28. Why did Allah send Jesus to this earth?
To save the Israelites from the iron and oppression of the pale-skinned nations of Europe, who were governing a portion of Palestine at that time.
29. How long has that been?
About 2,000 years ago.
30. What was the nationality of Ruth?
Ruth was a Moabite.
31. What is the modern name for Moabites?
Moroccan.
32. What is the Moroccan Empire?
Northwest Mexico.
33. What is the modern name for Mectum?
Africa.
34. What is the title given to our ruler in Morocco?
Sultan.
35. Where do we get the name Jesus?
From the east.
36. What does the name Jesus mean?
Jesus means justice.
37. Did the angel give to the child that was called Jesus a holy name?
Yes.
Yes.
It cannot be used by those who are slaves to sin.
38. What is an angel?
An angel is a cause of Allah manifested in human flesh.
39. What are angels used for?
Carry messages to the
Four corners of the world, to all nations.
40. What is our prophet to us?
He is an angel of Allah who was sent to bring us the everlasting gospel of Allah.
41. What is the everlasting gospel?
It is a saving power that comes through Allah, by the ancient forefathers, by his prophet.
42. What is the covenant of the great God Allah?
Honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long on the earth which the Lord thy God Allah hath given thee.
43. At what age did Jesus begin to teach?
At the age of 12.
44. Where did he teach?
India, Africa, and Europe.
45. How long did he teach?
18 years.
46. What did Jesus say that will make you free?
True.
47. What is truth?
Truth is ought.
48. What is ought?
Ought is a lie.
49. Can truth change?
You cannot change or pass away.
50. What other name do we give truth?
Holy Grail.
51. What have you to say about holy breath?
All we can say is it is great, it is good, it was, it is, and evermore to be.
Amen.
52. At what place on earth was the physical part of man formed?
In the Garden of Eden,
53. Where's the Garden of Eden?
in the land of Canaan, in the city of Mecca.
54. What is the modern name for the Garden of Eden?
Mecca.
55. What is the name of the first physical man?
His name cannot be used only by the executive rulers of the AC of the MST of A.
56. What are the words of AC of the MST of A?
Adam Chamber, Morris Science Temple of America. Third heaven.
57. Who were Adam and Eve?
They are the mothers and fathers of human family, Asiatics and Muslims.
58. Where did they go?
Went into Asia.
59. What is the modern name given to the children?
Asiatics.
60. Who is guarding the holy city of Mecca today to keep unbelievers away?
Asiatics. Angels.
61. What's the modern name for those angels?
Asiatics.
62. What is the shade of their skin?
Olive.
63. Are the Moorish American any relations to those angels?
Yes.
We all have same father.
64. If five names that are given to the descendants of Adam and Eve.
Lucifer, Satan, Dragon.
65. What is the devil sometimes called?
Lord self.
66. How many selves are there?
2.
67. Name them.
Higher self and lower self.
68. What people represent the higher self? 69. What people represent the lower self?
Those who were cast out of the holy city and those who accepted their teachings.
70. What is the higher self?
The higher self is the mother of virtue and the harmonies of life that breeds justice, mercy, love, and right.
71. Can the higher self pass away?
No,
72. Why?
because it is Allah in man.
73. What does the lower self breed?
Hatred, slander, lewdness, murder, death, and everything that harms.
74. What did the higher self say to the lower self at one time when he met him?
Where are you going, Satan?
75. What was the answer that the lower self gave to the higher self?
I am going to and fro the earth, seeking my death devour.
76. Has he finished his task of devouring?
Yes,
77. When was his time declared out?
when he nailed Jesus to the cross.
78. What were the last words that Jesus uttered?
It is finished.
79. What did he have reference to? 80. Did Jesus say he will return to conquer him?
Yes,
81. What is the name of the person into Jesus was first reincarnated?
Muhammad the Conqueror.
82. Was Satan to be bound then?
Satan was to be bound in pride.
83. When was the head of Satan taken off?
1453
84. By whom?
by Muhammad.
85. Name some of the marks that were put upon the Moors of Northwest by the European nations in 1774.
Negro, black, colored, and Ethiopian.
86. Negro.
River, West Africa, by the Moors, because it contains black water.
87. What is meant by the word black?
Black, according to science, means death.
88. What does the word colored mean?
Color means that anything that has been painted, stained, varnished, or dyed.
89. What does Ethiopia mean?
Ethiopian means something divided.
90. Can a man be Negro, black, colored, or Ethiopian?
No.
91. Why?
God Allah.
92. What title does Satan give himself?
God.
93. Will you define the word white?
White means purity. Purity means God. God means ruler of the land.
94. To whom do we refer at times being the great God?
Allah.
95. Is the devil made in the image and likeness of Allah?
No. He is the shadow of our lower selves and will pass away.
96. Who made the devil?
Elohim.
97. Who was Elohim?
Elohim is the seven great spirits that created everything that was, is, and forever going to be.
98. What is Elohim sometimes called?
7 eyes of Allah.
99. How many days are in a circle?
7 days.
100. How many days are in a creation?
7 days.
101. According to science, how many days are in a year?
7 days.
Islam?
Islam. Yeah,
I have Sheikh Shatik up next to demonstrate his 5 senses. Islam, family.
Islam family. It's so good to see each and every one of you. I do once again. I apologize for last week. Doing my job, I couldn't get there, and I was sick through last Sunday, so I couldn't get here. But I made it here. Praise Allah today. I'm not going to be up here long. I just had something on my dial plate that I feel that's like never, never expressed enough. Let me see which one I want to come from. So many. So many. This is all according to our social duties that we owe to each other and we owe to society. Okay, it is. Divine warning by the prophet for the nations. And we've been on this for a minute, so this can never be stressed enough that we are a nation. We must know that we are a divine nation of people and must start living amongst each other divinely. And so it can't be expressed enough. The citizens of all free national governments, according to their, get my glasses, y'all. My eyes ain't what they used to be. There they are. Like I said, the citizens of all free national governments, according to their national constitution, are all of one family, bearing one free national name. Those who fail to recognize the free national name of their constitutional government are classed as what? Undesirables. This is why we must live divinely. We must learn to love each other and respect each other. I'm saying, like, it's sad how we are today. It's really, really sad the way we are so divided against one another. So the prophecies are actually true. Everything that you ever heard about is right now today, especially with our young people. And are subjects to all inferior names such as Black, African American, Negro, etc., and abuses, which law enforcement abuses us on a regular, and they don't get nothing happen to them. Don't you know why? Because black according to science is what, and black according to law is what. I want you to say it louder. Civil literatus. So that means what? Dead in the eyes of the law. So they don't have to respect black people because they don't exist constitutionally and they don't exist lawfully. They're dead people. Dead badge of honor. Stateless persons. So they could shoot them, abuse them all they want. If things happen to us, so they're just a bunch of blacks who cares. That's why the prophet among us, our nationality is more Americans. They said it's recognized by what? The nations of the earth. And abuses and mistreatments, as I said, that the citizens care to bestow upon them. And it is a sin for any group of people to violate the national constitutional laws of a free national government and claim to names that they lose to what? Slavery. And with that, I could get into this, but I'm not. I'm going to defer and let my brother Omari come up and exercise his 5 senses. Then lastly, but not least, you'll be hearing from Grand Sheikh Lord Nature Elbey. Islam. Kill me over here. Tranquilo, see.
Islam, family. I'm going to give a brief demonstration coming out of chapter 4, Death and Burial of Elizabeth. And those lessons, the ministry of death.
It's not an enemy.
Islam. Get into that today. Get into that today. Son. Chapter 4. Death and burial of Elizabeth. Eno's lessons, the ministry of death. When John was 12 years old, his mother died. The neighbors laid her body in a tomb among her kindred in the Hebron burying ground near Zachariah's tomb. And John was deeply grieved. He wept. But Eno said, "It is not well to weep because of death. Death is no enemy of man. It is a friend who, when the work of life is done, just cuts the cord that binds the human boat to earth, that it may sail on smoother seas." And we have a few iterations from the prophet where he said, "I can better fight this fight on the plane of soul," out of the prophet's words, his mouth himself. And also going back to chapter 1, the man himself is not the body nor the soul. He is a spirit and a part of Allah. Creative fate gave to man, to spirit man, a soul that he might function on the plane of soul. Gave to him a body of flesh that he might function on the plane of things made manifest. So now going back to Ayah 3, death is no enemy of man. It is a friend who, when the work of life is done, just cuts the cord that binds the human boat to the earth, that it may sail on smoother seas. So saying this proof that this body that we're in on this plane is just a vessel. And when we're done navigating here, we shed this guard and we go into smoother seas. Islam? That's going back to also in the 101s. Once it's time to clear it out, when he nailed Jesus to the cross. So it's giving his physical his transgression to the next plane of life. Islam? No language can describe a mother's worth. And yours was tried and true, but she was not called hence until her tasks were done. And that's another reason. I was also explaining no need to worry when we're going to leave here. Because when you leave here, all your tasks will be complete. So that's another reason not to trip over death and how we feel and weep over death and sadden over death. So we're here for a time. We're here to execute what we have to execute and move on. The cause of death are always for the best, but we are solving problems there as well as here. And one is sure to find himself with it where he can solve his problems the best. That's going back to the prophet statement. You better fight this fight on a plane of soul, not physical. But it is selfishness that makes one wish to call again to the earth departed souls. You know, we go to funerals, people are crying over the body of what you hear, come back, come back. Because we're not mentally taught and prepared on how to deal with the occurrences. We think that death is a bad thing. So we weep and we get upset and we cry. But really, it's the opposite. And let your mother rest in peace. Just let her noble life be strength and inspiration unto you. A crisis in your life has come. You must have a clear conception of the work that you are called to do. So now what 8 is saying, going back to Ayah 7, let your mother rest in peace. Just let her noble life be strength and inspiration unto you. Because weeping over your mother's death, now you're missing other paths that you're supposed to complete, other objectives that you have to complete. But if you keep letting these physical restraints hold you back, you're never going to have the clear consciousness to see what you was really called here to do. Right? Now, a crisis in your life has come, and you must have a clear conception of the work that you're being called to do. It's going back to this, chapter 12, eternal happiness, the science of toiling. Right? We toil, the man should be happier when he toil. Why? Because the universe is teaching you a lesson or getting ready to teach you a lesson that you're going to need to go to the next level. Now, if you don't have a clear conception of what you're called to do, you're going to miss it. The sages of the ages call you harbinger. The prophets look to you and say, here's Elijah coming again. The mission here of that is that of the harbinger, for you will go before the Messiah's face to pave his way and make the people ready to receive their king. The readiness is pure of heart. None but the pure heart can recognize the king. Right? That's of those who have eyes to see will see, those who have ears to hear will hear. So if you're not ready to receive the light, but it says, though the sun is high at noon, those still cannot see. That's in the Quran. That's in the Moorish God.
Absolutely.
Right? The readiness is pure heart. None but the pure in heart can recognize the king. So if you don't have the pureness here and here, then you're not going to be ready to receive these certain information. Now, anyone can take, it's like for the Quran, anyone can take the Quran and read it. But if you're not pure in heart, you're not going to master these lessons. Right? I can give them to you in English, any language. You can interpret it, you can read it, you can recite it, you can memorize it. But that don't mean that it's in your heart. Islam. You try to
Add something like yes.
Mm-hmm.
No humanly, let's be real. It does touch you when you lose a loved one.
Sure.
Obvious. You gotta know that means defeated Earth's task amongst humanity. And you've done your job. You may have went young, old, like he went before his time. No, he didn't. He went when he was supposed to go. We live as long as we ought to live,
Mm-hmm.
as long as we can. And if you're here for a while, that means you have plenty of work yet to do. So don't be this illusion. Well, I'm just here and I'm blessed. Yes, you are, but find your purpose. You're here for a purpose. So before you defeat your task, before you complete your task.
Well, to teach men to be pure in heart, you must yourself be pure in heart and word and deed. That's not. So it's like a leader to give you a piece of information. For me to interpret this information purely by myself, I have to be pure in order to give a pure word. Otherwise, my word is tainted, and these words are not pure, which means they're most likely not true. The emphasis, the vow for you was made when you became a Nazarite. The razor shall not touch your face nor head. You shall taste not wine or fiery drinks. Men need a pattern for their lives. They love to follow, not to lead. The man who stands upon the corners of paths and points the way but does not go is just a pointer, and a block of wood can do the same. And that's interesting because we all have people in our lives who always want to guide us and give us direction. Oh, you went through this, so you should save your money because when you save your money, this is the outcome. But then it turns around, that's the same person who doesn't save their money. So how if you don't have any money that you save, better your life, how are you going to tell me what to do? Right? It's going back to the science of man knows not by being told. So it says, man who stands upon the corner of the path and points the way but does not go. It's just a pointer, and a blocking wood can do the same thing. So I need not for you to tell me your false words. The teacher treads the way. On every span of the ground, he leaves his footprints clearly cut, which all can see and be assured that he, their master, went that way. Now, when I read that ayat, I think of Jew Ali. There was no question what he was called here to do, what he brought to us. Everything that he was about, I can clearly see his step each way. Islam. Men comprehend the inner life by what they do and see. They come to Allah through ceremonies and forms. So men comprehend the inner life by what they see and do. So if I've seen a brother who went to school and got a master's degree and he's somewhat successful, that's what I must see and do to become successful. But that's how men interpret the inner life. That doesn't mean that that's the only way, and it doesn't mean that that's true. That's just how men interpret the inner life. So just make sure when you interpret the inner life, you can find truth in the steps. If you can't find validation and truth, then more than likely that's not the path for you. 18. And so when you would make men know that their sins are washed away, a purity in life, a right symbolic may be introduced. Right? So now that you may know, sins are washed away, a purity. And that's now we get into the masonry as so above, so below. Right? Because now we're going to get into the concept of washing one's body. It's symbolic. It's symbolic of washing of the brain, the inside, being purity inside. Islam. And water washed the bodies of the people who would turn away from sin and strive for purity in life. This rite of cleansing is a preparation rite, and they who thus are cleansed comprise the temple of purity. And you shall say, You men of Israel, hear, reform and wash, become the sons of purity, and you shall be forgiven. How many of us know on a day when we wash our bodies and refresh and we put on fresh clothing, it's naturally, mentally, a vibration just at a more natural high than it usually is. Why? Because now you're invoking those ethers and vibrations. Your body's clean, you feel clean, you think clean. Islam?
Your heart, pure love,
Right.
and your
Body's clean with water. This rite of cleansing in the temple are but symbolic of the cleansing of the soul, which does not come from outward show, but it is the temple within. Islam. Now you may never point the way and tell the multitudes to do what you have never done, but you must go before and show the way. You are to teach that men must wash, so you must lead the way. Your body must be washed, symbolic of the cleansing of the soul. John said, "Why need I wait? May I not go at once and wash?" Daniel said, "This well." And then they went down the Jordan Ford, the east of Jericho. This is where the host of Israel crossed when they first entered Canaan. He tarried there for a time. Daniel taught the harbinger, and he explained to him that the inner meaning of the cleansing rite and how to wash himself, how to wash the multitude. And in the river Jordan, John was washed, and they returned unto the wilderness. Now in any of these hills, Daniel's work was done, and he and John went down to Egypt. They rested not until they reached the temple of Saqqara in the valley of the Nile. For many years, Mathana was a master in this temple of the brotherhood. And when he told about the life of John and his mission to the sons of men, the Hierophant with joy received the harbinger, and he was called the brother Nazarite. For 18 years, John lived and wrote these within his temple gates. And that's not a physical temple, that's in his mind temple. He did this, he did the knowledge of what it truly meant, of watching one's body in the physical. He mastered it internally. He conquered self, became a mastermind, and learned the duties of a harbinger. Islam?
Now, we're not here to say John wrought in the temple 18 years.
Mm-hmm.
Now we go to the 101s. How long did Jesus teach? 18 years.
Mm-hmm.
John was the forerunner
Islam.
for Jesus,
Mm-hmm.
as Marcus Garvey was a forerunner for prophet, who was also Jesus.
Islam.
Yeah, so I just went to the 18
Islam.
years, which comes to what nine.
Just to be
Nine is to be born again.
Islam.
So see, that's what it means when they say in Christianity, born again. That's the real symbolic meaning. They don't really give it to you, not to discredit them, but it's how to improve.
So that'd be the science of being so baptized.
Islam.
Right? Being washed of the sins and being
water
reborn
breaks,
again.
that's the baptism right there.
Islam. Any other questions or comments on the chapter? Anyone wants to build, exercise their senses? Islam, Brother Nawiya?
Yeah. Arise, give a praise to the Most High, to the highest and the Father, the source of life, who we refer to as Allah. Honor to his true and noble prophet, noble to Ali. Honor to all true and divine prophets, Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha, Confucius. Honor to the Grand Sheikh of Temple Number 10, named Elevate. Honor to the Sheikh, honor to all the Sheikhs. Honor to the brothers and sisters in attendance. Honor to everything pertaining to Islam.
Islam. Honor to you, Mo.
Yeah, I was gonna build on the number 9 also. 9 is the only number that continually ascends.
Repeats itself.
So it deals with ascension. And
6, 9, and 12.
Yeah,
right.
so 9 is the numerical value of ascension, which is equivalent to all the numbers and keep going in itself. So you can multiply 9 by any number, you would get it.
You always come back to 9.
You always come back to 9. So that's why in the Quran it teaches that we all have the seed of perfection. We all have the potential to unfold the perfect life. So that's what 9 represents, the unfoldment of perfection. Islam?
Islam. Just to add on to that before I step off is that chapter 1. So spirit man as a seed of Allah, so deep within himself the attributes of every part of Allah. Islam. Gratitude family for letting me demonstrate. Next speaker would be Grand Sheikh of the Temple, H.L. Islam.
Takbir. Stop there. Enter Jesus.
Islam family,
Islam.
rise in the name of Allah, giving perfect praise to the Almighty, giving honors to our celestial and physical prophet Nawadu Ali, giving honors to all of the students, faithful Moors, the American citizens, and giving honor to all adversaries as well. Because the honor forward soldier never knows of strength. Islam. Also want to give honors to man. The record says that man honors man, he honors Allah. And what man does for man, he does for Allah. Islam. So we have to learn how to honor man. Islam. Can you find it? So, no, I'm fine right now. I want to give honors and gratitude to everyone who participated, celebrated, and honored Prophet Noble Ali's solar return, i.e., birthday celebration, in whatever manner that they did it in. Islam, and special thanks to those who attended the raising of the flag celebration at City Hall. Islam, the very important measures that, like we just discussed, when man honors man, he honors Allah. So Prophet Noble Ali said that he didn't necessarily, when he was informed, he didn't necessarily want the members to participate in bringing gifts, but he told them to bring themselves as gifts. So we have to understand that our presence is also gifts. And when we congregate and meet with each other, that's also an observance of giving gifts to each other. And not just to each other, but we're doing a good deed, physical and spiritual, to Allah and His prophets, plural. Islam. Is a such thing called consecration. And all the masters of the ages dealt with consecration. And to consecrate means to invoke a certain energy, spiritual energy, to a physical space or a place, a building, dwelling, a house, a temple, etc. So all temples and spiritual places of worship, they call them, all supposed to be consecrated. That means to invoke the energy of the Most High into that dwelling place, to summons the ancestors and the angelic spirits to one's place for guidance, for protection, etc. Protect the place from all evil. Like the Quran speaks about, every evil spirit is moving now. They're trying every weak mind to tear down and drag out the foundation that has been laid by me. It says, but if you have love of Allah in your hearts, in the spirit of your forefathers, you fear nothing you hear or see, you will sacrifice to the utmost to protect the Prophet and your movement. So each and every one of us have to learn the science of consecration, because not only the physical temple that we attend needs to be consecrated, but wherever you go needs to be consecrated for your own protection, especially your dwelling place, which is your home, because that's a temple as well. So your home definitely needs to be consecrated because that's where you rest. So you want peace in your home. So that means that you have to learn how to consecrate your home, protect you and whoever else is in your home from evil spirits. Islam. This is what makes the temple such a sacred and safe place, is if it's properly consecrated. It should be one of the safest places on earth. So we have to keep the spirits high wherever we dwell. Islam. If we look at the charter of the Moorish Science Temple of America, it speaks about consecration. The purpose of the Prophet Noble Drew Ali was to appoint and consecrate missionaries to assist the Prophet, is the wording that's on the charter. As what was the purpose? Thank you. I think I have one already. But that was the purpose of Ali in America. So we more familiar with the term now, they clone. It's like we know they clone animals, food, and people. Islam. But it's not exact cloning process that I'm talking about. But we are to duplicate the works and the teaching. So that's the cloning that I'm speaking about, where we still can deal with sort of like the same science. But we are to clone the works of the prophet of the days of the past here in America. So when the charter speaks about Ali in America, we have to understand what that means. Because Ali is not necessarily a person. The lessons tell us, instruction tells us, don't name your children Ali. Why? Because Ali means exalted. So Ali is more of a station, a title of nobility. So we don't just use these titles loosely because we can misrepresent what they really mean. No different from anything. We can call ourselves a king, we can call ourselves a queen, which are also status stations. And we hold ourselves to these particular titles, and it becomes a pattern that we're trying to hold ourselves accountable to. We're trying to live up to the standards of what that represents. So it's important that when we take on any of the titles of nobility, even what we call our surname, which is Elabay, that we hold ourselves accountable to what Elabay really represents. Islam. I want to read the proclamation from the city of Trenton, more of a resolution. So this is the resolution. A lot of you already heard it, but I just want to go over the resolution because when you use a document, a proclamation, a resolution, an affidavit, or whatever it is that's in writing on your behalf, you really need to understand it. And you have to agree with it if you're going to use it on your behalf. That's the most important point. So things could be used for good, and the record says that which can do good can also can do what? Harm. So this is the resolution from the city of Trenton, Council of Trenton. So let me read this. Whereas Moorish Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites, Hamathites, and Canaanites, who were permitted by the old pharaohs of Kemet to cross from East Africa and later formed kingdoms extending from northwestern, southwestern shores of Africa, the Atlantis Islands onto the present-day continental Americas. And whereas the native Moorish people of the Americas are now united in order to again link themselves with the family of nations. Whereas the Moorish Americans have formed a sovereign theocratic government guided by the principles of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, through virtue of universal rights to self-determination, as well as the Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People, guaranteed in the Charter of the United Nations. I'm going to stop there for a second. If anyone disagree with anything that was said so far? All right, Islam. So, are we a sovereign theocratic government? That's the question. All right, so the next question becomes, what is a theocratic government? Yes, sir.
I rise and I give all praises to Allah, the Father of the universe. Give honor to Noble Drew Ali, give honor to the Moorish flag and the American flag. Give honor to everyone here in Islam.
Islam.
Islam. You said, what is it?
Yes,
Theocratic government?
correct.
A theocratic government. Theocratic is someone or people that is governed by God or Allah only. That's what theocratic is. And the government would be the people.
Yes and no, but you're close. Thank you for that. Very close. Sister Jamila, you want to add on?
Rise and praise to Allah.
Mhm.
Honor to Prophet Noble Dwelling.
Mhm.
And honor to everyone here and to all that the yeah, just actually what Brian Bell said, just that he owes God and Christ his power, so it's God power.
All right. Islam. So I want to read to you a definition of theocratic government. Sorry? All right, Islam. So it says a divine guidance or by officials who are regarded as divinely guided. Leaders are members of the clergy, comma, and the state's legal system is based on religious law. Theocratic rule was typically of early civilizations. So let's examine that. We receive our authority from who?
Allah.
No, that's not what is on the official 1099 form. The Great Quran of Muhammad. It's very important because remember, I'm always the advocate. So if I ask you a question, this could be something that someone else is asking you. So you have to be clear on your answers. Islam? So we derive our power and authority from the great Quran of Muhammad. Very important. Now, who that is or what that means, that's another subject. But let's just start off with the answer. So the great Quran of Muhammad is not a person. It's not a book. It is divine guidance. So in that, according to that definition, yes, the leaders or the members or the officials of the government, they said, are usually members of the clergy. And clergy does not mean necessarily church. So don't think church when you hear that term. But the members or the officials of the government are also officials or clergy members, which is true. When you look at other Eastern societies, you will notice that clergy officials, i.e., the head officials, usually have what you would call religious titles. And the style of government is usually rooted within a predominantly one language, which they call a national language, and a national religion of that government. This is very important as well. Because here in this portion of America, you don't have that. So what they did was because of the different style of government that they changed it to, they put a clause in there called separation between church and state for that very reason. So because they refer to it as the great melting pot and there's so many different nationalities, etc., who have came here, they have to now accommodate the style of government and to accommodate the different people from different backgrounds that will participate in this style of government. Whereas when you go to other countries, mainly your Eastern countries, Islam is the religion of the government itself. I'm going to show you another statement. U.S.A said that they placed their trust upon names and issues formed by their forefathers. That's a governmental rule in all societies, which means that qualifications for office, you ever heard that term, right? That's a constitutional term, qualification of office. That means in order for an official to hold an office, they have to meet certain constitutional qualification standards, requirements. And here it's kind of tweaked out because of the style of government. But in other countries, say in our Eastern countries, if you didn't declare or honor your forefathers by name, religion, and principles, then you're not qualified not just to hold office, but you're not qualified to be a citizen of that land. So you won't find the religious freedom clause in other countries because they don't believe in that. They have no trust in other religious opinions. And if somebody in, say, an Islamic government want to be, just throwing it out, a Christian, they wouldn't qualify to hold office at that point. And they could be exiled. So it's very important that we understand how governments function, because if we're saying there our government and our flag is over 50,000 years old, then we have to understand what was the style of governments and how our forefathers conducted government over time. Now, yes, we are part and parcel of the said government, which means that we have to suit to a more modern style government, which is what we've done. However, you cannot forget the origins of your forefathers. Even if we try to look at the Kingdom of Morocco's style of government and see exactly how they conduct government there, you will still see that it's a different style than this republic that we refer to as. Huh? So it said the government leaders are members of the clergy and the state's legal system. So what they're saying is the members of the clergy, right, the religious institutions, just use that, are also officials in the state's government, in the local government. So let's go back to our instructions and laws. It says, out from your Sunday school comes what? The guiders of the nation. So that's not just insinuating that we should become officials within our temple and that's it. But guiders of the nation is, in this modern government, the Great Republic. So the seats that we have here are catered to not just learning how to become better citizens, but also learning how to take our place in the affairs of men. So we can go out and occupy governmental seats. This is how this is styled. So this is not limited to, as what people think, as a hobby or a religious thing. This is a governmental thing. The purpose of our membership is to prepare us for government. Not saying every member is to be a governmental official, but whoever we choose or elect to represent us is who we push to take certain seats on the other side of the government. That's the purpose of this. And I prove that, yes. Go back to the 1920s when Prophet Noble Ali was informed, they did just that in the city of Chicago. That's right. By taking members amongst them and pushing them into governmental seats where they were able to take seats as aldermen and congressmen. So that's local government. So that will be an example of the theocratic government that they was demonstrating back in the city of Chicago, where the members or officials in the temple also was pushed to be members in state government. Islam. So I'm going over that just for clear conception purposes and instructions as well, that we should take our membership more seriously and value more of what we have and what we should be doing. And hopefully it can inspire us to be more than what we can be, to be more. Islam? New Jersey, if you didn't notice, has a Hindu attorney general. So the state and the federal government can't really be biased towards different religious opinions. However, when it comes to the constitutional standards of law, then the interest should be in one direction. So it's not something that can't be done. Don't look at it as impossible, that no one is going to allow you to sit in certain seats. It's very possible, and it's being done. Just like we have an Asiatic, what is that, congressman, sister? Even though she's going through a lot of strife, but it's possible. In order for us to have proper representation in places that we're having problems, you either got to teach the people that's in the seats, or you have to teach someone to go occupy the seat. That's the only way that we can change the way things is done. I always say it's hard to clean a building from the outside. It's easier to clean it if you go on the inside. Same concept with the temples, where there's a lot of talk about the temple's not doing what they're supposed to do, the temple's not dealing with law, and they're not doing what the prophet said do, which partially is true. But like I say, well, if you see an issue within the temple, now you're obligated to go into the temple and fix it.
That's right.
Don't just stand from the outside and throw rocks at the temple, because you're not making it any better. If you realize that has the original jurisdiction, then you should participate and become that individual that you said that they don't have. You said temples don't have a school and they're supposed to, then nominate yourself to try to set up a school. You're saying they don't have this, they don't have a minister of this, they don't have this department, then see to it that you try to make it happen. Because it's more of a practice for us to take on seats within the temple's jurisdiction and learn how to be a leader within the temple. And then we'll understand how to be a leader for the national side of the government. But we have to start somewhere. And it's the perfect opportunity for us to start on the lower level. No different from many of your national or federal officials didn't just sign up for a federal job. They started on a local level and they worked themselves up. And that's what makes them qualified as far as the people is concerned, when they see that they had a good reputation and a good rapport of doing work on other levels. Even most of your presidents had other offices before they ran for president, except Mr. Trump. It just shows anything is possible. So, okay, back to the resolution. It speaks about through virtue of universal right to self-determination. So what does self-declaration mean? It means that the people have the right to declare who they are.
That's right.
Which is very important, because when you talk about a national name of a people, that is a self-determination. And this is how nations are recognized. It's through declarations, through the representation or representatives of their nation. Whenever someone else declares a name for a people, that's colonization. And it's important we know the difference, because this will help us understand the Negro, Black, and colored brand names. This is why Noble Drew Ali speaks of them as brands. Someone branded you, that means that they named you. That's not self-determination. We didn't name ourselves Black.
No,
We didn't name ourselves Negro. So therefore, they're saying that, or acknowledging that we have the right to self-determination. That means that there should be no argument behind you disclaiming the usage of the word black or African American. So for those who try to debase you in name and character is in violation of that very same law that we're just speaking about now. It's guaranteed and protected by the Declaration of Rights of the indigenous people. Everybody with me? So nations declare who they are or their national name through representation of their nation, not from people who colonize them. That's a main understanding we need to have when we argue in this. If we're dealing with documentation, applications that people make us sign, and they want to say, well, you can't check that off or you can't write that, then you question that, but intelligently based off what I'm saying. So I'm going over ways on how you can even use this resolution. We speak about resolution number 75. Speak about this resolution. There's many resolutions that have been passed pertaining to Moorish Americans. 75 is just an old resolution that the Moors been using for years. I believe it goes back to 1933, I believe. It might even be older than that. However, it's important that we realize how to use a resolution. And like I said, now you got to go through that resolution and see, do I agree with all these statements here? Because if you disagree, you might not want to use that resolution. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I rise already, I'll rise again.
Yeah.
I had a problem with that
Mm.
proclamation.
The resolution.
Resolution.
All right.
Of Trenton, because it spoke about more native.
Mm-hmm.
And that word, the etymology of that word means something that is of foreign origin.
Not really. But let me go back to the exact wording of it. If you have the exact wording, you can give it to me. All right. Where is the native Moorish people of Americas? So I would have a problem with it too. However, it's not a big problem legally because you have what a word means and you have what is meant by a word. And sometimes a word can have several different meanings. And a lot of times they do. So you just have to explain how you're using that. If it's something that gets down to some real law. But you can use it in your favor. I wouldn't look at this situation as as where it was written grammatically to disenfranchise us in any way. And everything is not construed from an etymology point of view when it goes to writing purposes or legal documents, because most of the English language is written in what we call a fiction. The way the English translation is even written, most of it is improperly and grammatically written, where it does not make sense. However, to communicate, to make sense of an understanding, you have to agree to something. If you disagree with what it's saying, you have to put a disclaimer there and highlight that. But I don't really think that that's a big issue when you're speaking about native. I wouldn't use the term Native American as a classification. So when they're using this in a sentence as the native Moorish people, that's just a figure of speech. But if you check off a checkbox that says Native American, then I agree with you on that point. Now that's a legal classification that I would not agree with because of what that indicates. And I would agree We can't do that. But if it's just used in a sentence like that, then you don't necessarily have to challenge everything that's written in grammatic like that. So, yes, sir.
No, Chief. Now, it's good that you bring that up. I agree with it only because I would know how to, our word has to be defended.
Mhm.
We are the Aboriginal and indigenous natives to these lands. So we took join from, we took join, it already said we could join from women.
Yes.
This is way before it was called like America. So
Mhm.
we are the true natives of this land, the true Aboriginal and indigenous natives. That's where my my explanation would come from if it was ever put to account.
Islam.
That couldn't be that it could not dispute it.
Absolutely. That wouldn't be something that would put you in a bad situation.
No, not at all.
Used in a sentence like that. Plus, native just from an etymology perspective means to be born. So it's not still not a negative perspective. It's no different from the word nation. It's natural. Native just means natural. So used in a sentence, they're saying the natural born Moorish people. The native born is the natural born.
Answered it.
Just like the word nation or nativity. It has the same root word, which just means to be born. So that's the only thing it's really saying in the sentence. But again, used in as legal United States or U.S. classification for statuses, Native American is insinuates a brand or tribe of Indians, which was also a colonized classification and term given to people that they claim was native born to the land. So that is where you got to be careful when you don't get into that classification that was set aside for what they refer to as Indians. And a lot of Moors do get into that situation by saying Moors are natives. Brother Abdullah Mosey Bey, which you know is one of our Moorish etymologists, he actually goes into that very heavy in certain books that he put together and lectures that he did on the term native and even the word indigenous. And he breaks all of that down as you can't use the word indigenous by itself because of understanding what it represents. So indigenous has a different meaning from aboriginal indigenous. You know, so according to how you use words determines what classification that they put you in. So it's very important that we do understand that. Yes. So I'm going to continue with the resolution. It says, whereas on January 8th, 1886, Noble Drew Ali was born in the state of North Carolina and destined to become the first patriot of the Moorish American people. And whereas in 1912, Noble Drew Ali was anointed as El Hajj Sharif Abdul Ali by the heads of Egypt of the holy city of Mecca to return to the United States as the last prophet and founding father of the newly risen nation of Moorish Americans. And that can get a little semantically. Whereas as a result of the congressional ratification of the 13th Amendment that was enacted in 1865, the Moorish people were emancipated from slavery. I object. And it's important that we understand why. But I will open that up to the floor. Is there any issue on that? Do you see any issue on that? Yes. It says, as a result of the congressional act of the 13th Amendment, it says the Moorish people were emancipated in 1865. Yes.
The only thing I would object to with that is that the detail in the 13th Amendment of that year does not say Moorish people.
No, it doesn't. I'm borrowing the Moorish guy for a minute. Anybody else? Hello, Mark.
Two one. I do like the emancipation add-on for a neophyte to kind of prove how the Moorish and the blacks are synonymous, but then it doesn't quite legally add up because then they want to implicate the 14th and 15th Amendment. That was true.
Yes, I agree. Finish what you thought.
I'm not saying that from a neophyte perspective it's good because from the outside looking in, you can get some understanding of who we are as a people between Moorish and black. But then legally, you have to object because then you come up with the 14th Amendment that goes against the 13th. So legally, I object, but for a ground foundation, it's good for a neophyte.
For teaching purposes. All right, Islam. I get what you're saying. Islam.
So I'm glad you now. In conjunction with that, I agree only, but I defer only because when the prophet came along, he fulfilled what the 13th Amendment was trying to do. So there's no need, there was no emancipation at that time because that was when they created the 14th and 15th Amendment. That was when the prophet said, there's no need for the 14th or 15th Amendment for the redemption of my people. He never mentioned the 13th, but he was the 13th Amendment, in my understanding.
All right. Anyone else? Cheekers, do you have a drawing on that? So that I don't take up too much time, let me just tell you why I object to that. It says the Moorish people were emancipated. And what does emancipated mean? Yes, you said it. I was going to give the brother a chance with Islam. So they're saying that we were free. The Moorish people became free. The newly Moorish people, it says, became free by way of the 13th Amendment. So my question becomes to the floor. If the 13th Amendment was never passed, would the Moorish people still be enslaved? You said absolutely.
They still be enslaved if it wasn't passed, yes.
All right, Islam. Brother Saru, you was going to say something?
I was just saying that transfer as possible.
All right. Without going into that definition, I want to just disclaim the 13th Amendment altogether. This is my position. And if we go into the divine warning for the nation, it says that the Constitution, the free national Constitution that has been in force since 1774, did what? It declared all men to be equal and free. All right, so is the Moorish people included in all men?
No,
Why not?
because we was already enforcing that free national constitution before.
It doesn't matter, all people. Because all people include the Moorish people.
Yes, it
All
does.
right. So the constitutional law that has been enforced since 1774 declared all men to be equal, free. And since that constitution has never been changed, there is no need for the 14th and the 15th Amendment. For what? The salvation of my people and who else? No. And the citizens.
Rather, yes.
All right. So that's a quote from Noble Drew Ali. So interpreting that quote is saying that since the Constitution that has been enforced since the 1700s declared all men to be equal and free, there's no need for the 14th Amendment, but there's also no need for the 13th Amendment. There's no need for any of the amendments to declare freedom because that was already declared in 1774. And it has not been changed. So it wasn't necessary. Slavery was illegal since 1774. It was illegal, period, because it's ungodly like. However, it was a legal enforced law in the year 1774 in this nation. So there never should have been any participation of slavery after 1774. So it shouldn't have been revisited in 1865 at all. It should have been something that was already observed. That was what Brother Abraham Lincoln argued. That's how he got the Emancipation Proclamation addressed and passed. It's based off that same theory. It was already unconstitutional. So it wasn't a new proposal that he was trying to say, well, we need to stop slavery because I think that this is not right. He held them to the older declarations to convince them that it wasn't supposed to take place. Are we clear on that so far? That's very important. Like that's like Moore's 101s when it comes down to understanding nationality and birthright.
So whoever wrote that resolution is not aware of that divine one.
I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to say they wasn't aware. It was overlooked by both parties. And like Brother Omari said, it can do good. And this is why, again, we don't want to be in a desperate state that we just agree to something because it seems like it's going to help us. That's what occurred with the 14th Amendment. The 14th Amendment was bait. And because it seemed like it offered benefits or rights, our people, not just saying Moorish people, but as our people collectively agreed to it. And they're still agreeing to it. Because it seems like it offers a benefit, or like the Quran said, it offers pleasure. And again, it's bait. I call it bait because a part of it is it could do good, but the overall intent of it is to do harm. So it's the 13th Amendment. However, it's better than the 14th, but again, you got to choose your battles. But just being a statesman to understand Noble Drew Ali's concept of the law, he did not use the 13th Amendment as to declare us to be equal and free. He's not coming from a 13th Amendment perspective. So it's all right for those who want to use it, but it's not necessarily his thought or pattern of law where he was going with it. So that's why I objected to it, because emancipation still had conditions that went along with the emancipation. And that's a whole nother lesson. You have to read it and go into the original 13th Amendment to understand that. Where is classification of those people with descendants of Africans and different things that you would have to agree to that whole pardon that was given to ex-slaves in order to be acknowledged as an emancipated individual. So you want to take a portion of it, you got to take the other part of it as well as a package deal. And you got to be aware of it, just like we spoke about the reparations that some of these people are trying to go for. Even some more is trying to tag on to this reparation thing that they got out. And you got to understand it's a package deal. So you want to be a dreamer and sit back and think that you're going to get rewarded something if you agree to some classification, that's on you. But we are not a beggar people, so we don't want to insinuate legally that we're a beggar people or that we're dreamers. No consideration can be given to a people that's not of a nation. So that leads me over to what they refer to as Declaration of Independence. We put out this treatise in the early 2000s called Due Process of Law, Volume 1 and Volume 2. All right, and within